Hi, this is Mike Kuntz at the No Limits television show. Today we're at the Rockland Country Club on this gorgeous day, as you can see, and we have a very special day. We are honoring the second annual fundraiser for Share Africa, founded by Dr. Martha McGuffey. She was a pioneer in assisting and helping children of Africa who were devastated by AIDS, who were hungry, malnutrition, and getting self-sufficiency to the villages so they could take care of themselves. She was an amazing human being. Many people have worked with her, and this organization, Share Africa, has grown over the years. Many notable people have been involved, such as the actor Bill Murray. We all know him from Lost in Translation, and of course from his early days in Saturday Night Live, and a whole host of individuals who have dedicated their life to the same endeavor that the doctor did. So we're going to be interviewing many of those people that have contributed their time and effort to helping others, and we'll be right back to talk to those individuals. Thanks very much. So here I am with Allie Betts, and she's at the beautiful Rockland Country Club on a great, wonderful day. Gorgeous.
Beautiful day.
You couldn't ask for better. And you're here, obviously playing golf, and you're here for the Share Africa?
We are.
And what connection do you have with that at all?
We were asked to do a little fundraising.
Great.
So we got a group of people, and they'll be here. They were here golfing all day. We had some of our customers who came from Chicago, and they golfed today, and they're going to stay for the dinner.
So we've got people coming from different states and different cities to
Everywhere,
support this effort of Dr. McGuffey's effort with Share Africa. And there's someone else you know also in the entertainment business, because the name Betts is a very famous name. So
that's Dickie Betts.
Dickie Betts, and that's of the Allman Brothers.
He's with the Allman Brothers. Well, was.
Was with the Allman.
Was with the Allman Brothers.
That's great. That's great to know.
Yep.
So we have kind of an allied entertainment person.
We
here.
do.
Okay, very good. So it was great talking to Allie.
You too. Good luck.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful day.
It is.
And you have a wonderful day.
You too.
Okay. Hey, we're back at this great fundraiser, and we have a very special person here called Brishnikov. And how did you come involved with being part of this today?
Well, this is my golf club, my country club, and I knew, of course, Dr. McGuffey, Bobby McGuffey, probably almost close to 30 years ago I met her. And, you know, and we become really sort of close friends, you know, and I was involved in a few of her charities, you know, in her house she did the medieval brunches and et cetera, and then I met some of her friends, and most of all, you know, her stories about Africa and her involvement and her family and her children, and it's just a heartbreaking story, but she was one of the most the strongest people I ever knew in my life.
What was the strongest
her
feeling?
Her belief in her, well, doctor is a doctor always, you know, when you know, the author, the doctor, it's awesome to start with, but she was really, she was a human being with a capital letter, you know, just a real mensch, and her care about, you know, her friends, her people whom he never knew, you know, and her project in Africa was, you know, story after story. I was very, very impressed, and when she passed away, you know, I felt like I lost a very close friend, you know.
She was very close to a lot of people there. What was the main thing that you saw her doing in Africa? Was it the self-sufficiency?
No, her determination to get other people involved.
Yes.
Her commitment was 100%,
right.
But she just took people from you know, artists, you know, and you know, and
well, like you used to pull everyone together.
Oh, yes, you know, and her enthusiasm, you know, if people even who were very busy, they said, "I will do it for Dr. McGuffey." I mean, because it's she was that special.
Right. Amazing, amazing. And of course, you have a great following yourself. Any new projects coming that you can?
Well, I'm doing 2 plays, and I'm still dancing a bit, and playing awful golf, but struggling in my golf game. Otherwise, no, life is good.
Excellent, excellent. Well,
Thank
you're one of
you.
the best, one of the greatest people. I follow you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, very good.
Thanks.
Go Boris. Thanks very much. Hey, this is Mike Kuntz, and we're back with this great event. And now we have Bill Sheridan and his wife Claire.
Yes.
And we're going to ask Bill, starting with Bill. He was the main sponsor of this. What his connection is to this whole organization and this wonderful.
Well, through my great wife, I became familiar with Dr. McGuffey and all the good work she did. So we're happy to support the cause, and we just feel very fortunate to be able to do that. And flew my cousins in from Nevada. We had 9 foursomes, and we had a great day out. A beautiful day here at Rockland Country Club. So all's good.
And Claire has some background on her connection to Dr. McGuffey.
Yes.
Through a special book and through.
Yes. I am the president of the Historical Society of Rockland County, and we were doing a panel discussion about great women in Rockland with the new city library. And sadly, Dr. McGuffey passed away right when we were going to be doing that discussion. So the panel discussion turned into sort of a memorial service. And I met Lynn Manzione, who wrote the book called A Wondrous Journey about Dr. McGuffey's life. And I read that book and was very moved by it, and really wanted to learn more about Share Africa. So it's through Lynn and Usha and Jerry that we've gotten involved, and it's a pleasure. She's an inspiration, Dr. McGuffey,
yeah,
and
we have 2 daughters, so
Yeah.
she was a good role model for them.
yeah. So we're pleased to be here. I'm sorry that we didn't actually ever know Dr. McGuffey personally, but we hope that her legacy will live on through Share Africa, and we're happy to help.
Yeah,
that
she was an
happen.
amazing lady. I did a full interview with her in 2005 in my studio, and we did a full hour, and it was amazing. I invited her up to the house.
We'd like to see that, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get a copy of that to everyone,
Yeah.
so that was great. What was the strength of the book that you found, the most focus in the book that you found that really made you feel the inspiration that you feel?
What really inspired me was here was a person who had a tremendous tragedy in her life, and she made a decision to turn that into helping others. So rather than dwelling on the tragedy, she turned that into a way to give back.
So she took the energy from the tragedy,
Her
and she.
resilience and her ability to bounce back was inspiring.
Yes, and it's a great lesson for kids to learn that in life bad things are going to happen, but the key is to make the most out of it. And there's always someone less fortunate than you are, and there's always someone who has it worse off than you are. So it's your duty and your job to make sure that you help others.
And I believe she was a Yankees and a New York Football Giant fan. So
And people are a little concerned about the Giants right now.
yeah,
But they'll bounce back. They always do.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, that's great. It's great to have both of you here, and
well, we appreciate your time and
thanks very
all
much.
your
That's
help.
It's a
Claire
pleasure.
Sheridan and Bill Sheridan, and look forward to seeing you for the rest of the event.
Absolutely. Thank
All right.
you.
Have a great
Thanks for
time.
your time.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Hey, we're back at this great event, and we have another guest here, Daoud, and he's a board member of Share Africa. And he's joined us here, and he's having a great time. We've got a magnificent day today, obviously, and everybody's gone out for golf. You went for the golf tournament too?
We I play. I hope that we're gonna win. My team shot 62,
Wow,
so 9 under. So
that's pretty good. That's pretty
we're
good.
waiting for the results.
And how did you hold up around the course?
Oh, very good. Absolutely, it's my home course. So
Excellent, excellent.
That's good.
So tell us about your connection to Dr. Martha McGuffey. How did you come to know her, and how did you come to become involved with this, and what has been your input?
Oh, I knew Dr. McGuffey for years because she was a big figure in our community. Then and she used to come to the restaurant I used to work before I opened my own restaurant. And when she passed away, Usha Wright and Jerry Warshaw, Usha was the president of Share after she passed away, So we were talking one day about, how the organization was doing, about, financially. And she told me that it was very tough for them to raise money. So I suggested them maybe we should go golf outing for share on, in order to raise money for the charity. So we started last year. I called Bill Murray, who was a big fan of Dr. McGuffey. So Bill was on board right away, and we did a great fundraising last year, and we decided to do this year again.
That's great.
So yeah.
And the background you know about her as an individual and a person who was a stalwart to do what she did and to keep pushing forward. She has become an inspiration for everyone.
Oh, for everyone, yeah, definitely.
What's your feeling about that? How do you think about her?
Oh, Dr. McGuffey, she's not only a role model for me. For me, she's a saint, and what she dedicated her life to help others, especially people who need the most, those kids, orphans, in the worst place probably on earth to live, and to help, and to see some of those kids graduated from high school, graduated from college, and it's speechless. Definitely. It's one of the best stories I ever seen in my life.
And you would agree that that's what we should be doing in the world and in the planet, is putting our energies into a positive change.
Of course. And that's and just to see how many people show up in this event. How many friends actually who doesn't even play golf show up in this event, and because some of them they didn't know about Dr. McGuffey, but when they learn about her, and they say they have to do something, and they're all helping, and we need to raise money because the kids that we sponsor in that place called Mbita, we need a little bit much more money for them to be able to go to school and survive for the year. So, it's a
great humanitarian effort.
It's a great. You can't,
Your restaurant is what? We're going to give a little plug here.
Sidewalk Bistro in Piermont.
Sidewalk Bistro. I go there every week. Sidewalk Bistro. So
thank you.
I love it. I sit out there and I enjoy myself.
Oh, can you have all mussels, foie gras, it's a little French bistro. It's very, it's very nice. I'm glad I like it there.
Daoud?
Daoud.
Okay, very good. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at the Sidewalk Bistro and right here in the fundraiser.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks.
Bye-bye. And here we are again with Diana Spain.
Yes.
Okay, and you're a sponsor of one of the children associated with the Share Africa program.
That's correct.
Tell us about that. How do you become a sponsor, and how did you become a sponsor?
Well, actually, Jerry and Usha, President and Vice President of Share, live in Piermont, where my husband and I have a restaurant. And my husband came home one day and told me about Share Africa and said that we were going to sponsor a child, and I was thrilled. In order to be a child that is a candidate for sponsorship, you must be totally orphaned. So all of the children that are sponsored have neither a mother or a father living. And so the fee is, in my opinion, nominal compared to what it might cost to support the education and the health care of a child. And so once a year, there's a fee, and you have a specific particular child. You're sent a photograph of the child. You receive communications from the child and from the school of the child annually, and it's a very rewarding experience for us.
That sounds terrific. How does a person become a sponsor? Is there an address, or is there somewhere that you can tell us so that when this goes on the air, we can encourage people to join up?
Certainly. You can go to the shareafrica.org website, and there are links there that are very prominent and visible as soon as you are on that website, that can help you get the information and provide the information that you need in order to enter into sponsorship.
And give the website one more time.
ShareAfrica, as one word, .org.
Okay, that's great. Now, you went to Kenya.
Yes, I did go to
Tell us
Kenya.
a little vignette of what it was like to go there and how you felt about it and what you took away from it.
Okay. My husband and I and Jerry and Usha converse about SHARE. My husband's on the board of directors of SHARE since the first annual golf outing to support SHARE. And so I was invited. I went to dinner with Jerry and Usha in May. They invited me out to dinner. And during that dinner, Usha asked me to identify a project that I could be passionate about that would support the work of SHARE. And I was hard-pressed to identify something at that point because it was just not very clear to me the way that I personally could help. I am a teacher. I teach middle school age children. I've been teaching for a number of years now, more than 20 years. And so as an educator, I am very aware of children and their needs, and especially children who are not having all of their needs met. But not knowing anything about Kenya, it was difficult for me to hone in on something. And so I said to Usha, I think I might have to go there to actually identify a project.
Go through the experience.
Exactly. Go there and see the children, see where they live, see how the organization functions in the Suba district where the SHARE organization is located in Kenya. And so that was fairly easy to arrange because they were leaving just about 2 months after the evening that we were having dinner. And so I quickly arranged to do that, bought the air tickets, and they arranged the living quarters for me. I was very pleased that the expense of my trip was to be borne by me, because my feeling is that I love SHARE because I think it's as much as 97% of the dollars that are donated to SHARE actually go to the children. And I felt that if I wanted to travel to Kenya, that should not come from anyone but me. And so we arranged to leave, and we were there. It took 16 or 17 hours flying time to get there with layovers and so on. And we went to this remote region, the back country of a developing country now. And we were there actually for 6 full days. And every day was scheduled in advance, and there was absolutely not 1 minute of downtime. It was wonderful. The time was very well used.
When you arrived, what was your first impact? What was your first reaction to what you saw and your feelings?
Having traveled to Egypt, I found the airport in Nairobi more, I guess, user-friendly than I sort of expected, because there was a bit of chaos years ago when I had traveled to Egypt with the baggage, and there was nothing like that when we arrived in Nairobi. I was surprised by the roads. The roads to venture to the region where we went, the roads were quite poor. They're paved, and then they're not paved.
They're antiquated, and
there are animals, cows and donkeys and goats and chickens.
They're all loose.
Yes, and they're in the road with the cars, and they have no fear, and it's like one big herd of people and vehicles moving in a direction.
When you met the people in the village, what was that feeling like when you first walked into the village and saw the whole sociological everything that you had not experienced before?
I suppose the greatest feeling that I took away from the experience was I was very inspired, and I will say that the people were very sweet. They were gracious. They were very grateful, and they were very friendly. And they were just, I guess, because of Dr. McGuffey's work there and the organization and everything they do, we were really treated so well, and they were so happy to see us. I did have some feelings that were very difficult for me when we visited an orphanage that Dr. McGuffey helped establish. And in that space, it was really difficult for me not to be very sad and to show my sadness.
Well, that's understandable.
Yes, but the children are children, and so they were happy, they were curious, they were very respectful, And I was very, very happy to be there. I was happy to be with them and speak with them. They were curious about these Americans, and they were appreciative. They all know their sponsors' names. They can all tell you what their class rank is and how they're doing in school. And I've actually written a piece that's going to be published on the SHARE website, an essay about my experience.
When is that coming up?
It's ready to be published, and it should be on the website. If it's not on within the past couple of days, it will be on in the next few days.
And that's the website we just mentioned.
Exactly.
Oh, great.
And one of the other experiences that we had is because Dr. McGuffey did a lot for the medical community. We went and saw the Suba District Hospital. She chose this district because it was the worst at the time for being identified as HIV positive or having AIDS. It was the worst district in Kenya for infectious or parasitic disease. It was the worst for food insecurity, malaria. It was just the worst. And so we went to the hospital, and it was so rewarding for the medical superintendent of the hospital to tell us the meaning of the operating theater that was donated by SHARE to this hospital and the lives of mothers and babies that are saved because the operating theater is there. That was extremely heartwarming, and so I captured that in a videotaped interview, which will also be published on the website. I captured that with my iPhone.
That's great.
Yeah.
Small acorns grow big trees.
I hope.
What did you take away from
And here's the other thing.
Yes.
The people that work for SHARE there are so wonderful. Even thinking about them now, I get emotional. Because these two women that are
That's
social
your feeling.
workers are so devoted to the children. There are 250 orphans, and they know every child. They know their story, when and how their parents succumbed to illness. They know their personalities, their strengths, their weaknesses, and they're just so they're so fierce in the face of such difficulty. And I can feel much more comfortable being back home at here and all the comfort and beauty that I enjoy while I work and do things for SHARE because they're there. And they're just wonderful. And
So it really takes just a little in our world to start something that's great,
absolutely.
rather than focusing on things where the energy is misused.
Absolutely. And I'm very excited about a project that I'm undertaking with students that attend the school that I work in. And that is that I am taking on responsibility with a colleague of mine for the National Junior Honor Society. And the students that are part of that have to take on community service work. And so the woman that is going to do that work with me, Jessie Garant, and I are going to work with the scholars at our school to help them learn about the children in Kenya and establish relationships with those children. And
That's perfect.
And define a project that they choose, that they want to undertake to inform the entire school community, at least the entire school community, but perhaps beyond our little school community, so that, because I think it's really important for children to develop a social conscience, and especially children that have the privilege that American children do, to recognize that that's a rarity globally and that they have a responsibility to help and to serve people that are less fortunate than themselves. And so that's one of the outcomes of my travel experience that I'm looking forward to undertaking this school year.
So Diane, we have about 20 seconds. What is it that you took away from this whole experience and the organization that most inspires you?
That I can do,
Inside.
that I can do so much, even though I personally have so very little, by illuminating this experience.
That's a good word.
Sharing it with other people so that they're more cognizant of the need and their ability to do something that will cost them a fraction of time or dollars that can make the world of difference for a child.
It's all about change.
That has lost so much.
Great, that's terrific. Okay, Diane, wonderful speaking to you. Keep working at it.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye now.
Okay.
Now we have Coralie Rogers, who's a
Yes.
volunteer, and
I
she's
am.
part of the board also. She works.
No,
No.
I am a volunteer, and I also support 3 orphans.
Oh wow, that's amazing. We'll get into a little of that. So how did you come to know this organization? How did you come to know about the background of Martha McGuffey?
Through Usha and Jerry. They're friends, and their spirit and their enthusiasm drew me in. And then I ended up drawing a lot of my friends in. So a lot of my friends now sponsor orphans as well.
That's terrific. And how do you sponsor the orphan? I
Just-
spoke to Diana Spain, and she gave a little background.
It's only $500, and that takes care of our orphans for an entire year.
That's a year.
A year, all of their education, all of their medical, their room and their board. I mean, if you think about that, $500 does all of that. And we know how important education is. Someone was just telling me a story about how when she was in Kenya, she was robbed. And she said, you know, I'm going to go and sponsor some children because I realize with an education, they don't have to go and rob people.
Wow, that's amazing. And did you know Dr. McGuffey at all?
I did, peripherally, not well, but I met her on several occasions. And I'm a Rockland County native, so her name has always been sacred, you know, for those of us who have been here for a long
I
time.
did an hour interview with her in '05, and it was an amazing interview in the studio down in New Jersey, and she brought all of her pictures, photographs, films, and it was splendid. In fact, I'm going to get a copy over to Jerry, and you guys can share it.
I'd love to see that. Isn't that amazing that at her age, I mean, this is not an easy trip. It's on my list to go. I haven't been yet, but I will do it. And that's not easy. And she was doing these trips well into her 80s, I guess. And she was still doing it. That's how strongly she believed in this.
When you get involved with an organization like Share Africa, what are your feelings internally? What strengths and what energies do you feel? What brings you away with inspiration in your own life and for others in a time when we've seen in the last 10 years to 15 years a lot of trauma in the world?
I think especially with this organization, you know that all the money is going to the kids. It's amazing. There's no overhead. There's no administrator who's taking a cut. Everybody works tirelessly, just volunteering, giving of their time, their energy to make this happen. And I just feel, wow, I'm fortunate in my life that I can afford to do this, and it feels good knowing that you're making such a tremendous difference in the lives of these kids. You know, we hear from the kids, which is so great. You know, we get letters from them. We know what's happening. And I had an interesting experience. I was in South Africa, and I was staying at a B&B in South Africa, and I happened to be talking to one of the people who worked there, and his fiance was actually involved with the Share Orphans in Kenya.
Oh, wow.
And he was raving about this organization and just all the good it does.
That's great. And what would you suggest to others who want to get involved, Coralie? To jump in and do it.
Jump in, just do it. Sponsor an orphan. Give us $500, and it's just knowing that you're making such a difference in the life of a child. What could be more important than that?
Okay, Coralie Rogers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and enjoy the party. Okay, here we have Jeff Karasik, Dr. Jeff Karasik, and he's the director of the Share Africa program. He's the medical director.
Yes.
Okay, and what is your involvement? How did you come to the organization, and how did you get involved?
I always had an interest in doing international medical work, and I recognize Share as an important local organization. Being a Rockland resident myself, I really wanted to get involved in an organization that was local and that was on the level where I could have some impact.
And Dr. McGuffey, you knew Dr. McGuffey. How did
Yes.
you come to know her?
Oh, Dr. McGuffey was a legend. She was a very well-known and very well-respected plastic surgeon in Nyack. I knew her through Nyack Hospital. I also work with one of her daughters, who's my partner in my pediatric practice.
Oh, amazing. And you've been to Kenya, and what did you see? How have you been impacting Kenya in the last few years?
The region that we work in is very, very impoverished. The level, malnutrition is a regular sight. It's rare to see a child who's not malnourished. The diseases that exist there are diseases that we read about in textbooks here. Tropical diseases, parasites, typhoid, malaria, and these are regular bread and butter illnesses that not only exist there, but although the resources exist in the world to treat these illnesses, the resources don't exist on the local level in Kenya.
And I think that's what we have to look forward to too. We have to try to move those resources in areas that are necessary.
Yes. Even within Kenya, the resources are concentrated in certain regions. In our region, the region where we work, Western Kenya, Bita, is really a region that is devoid of medical care and devoid of medications.
Now, were you able to bring medicines into the region yourself?
Through some generous donations from organizations, we're able to bring medications in, and we're able to have an effect. You know, the issue that we faced is, you know, when I was asked to be the medical director of SHARE, I looked upward at Dr. McGuffey and I said, these are huge shoes to fill. How could I possibly do it? Dr. McGuffey was a plastic surgeon. I'm a pediatrician. It's the challenge of pediatrics in a region like Bita where we work is sustainability. You can go, you can have an effect, but how do you have a sustainable effect? And I really was overwhelmed. I didn't know how I was going to do it.
It's almost a perfect match.
Yeah, it is. But the first time I went, I had a feeling like I was having an effect, but then I was leaving, the medications were going to be used up. I was not going to be there anymore, and the diseases that existed were going to go on and exist. And my challenge, and I didn't know initially how I was going to meet it, was how was I going to be able to have some sustainable effect. But I learned that the way to figure your way around that is really to listen to the people there. And we went to Kenya and we said to the local population, to the medical people in the population, what do you need? And we, to our surprise, got some very interesting answers. And one of the first answers we got is that they needed mental health services. And behavioral mental health is such a big big item here. There's none of it. It doesn't exist in Kenya. It's an area that is bereft with orphans, children who have lost both parents to HIV and other diseases, and there's absolutely no services. And I remember Usha said to me, they have a need for bereavement counseling. Is that something you could do? Is that really medical? And I said, it's absolutely medical. Here in the United States, it's behavioral health. It's an integral part of our medical system. And I was able to recruit some social workers and counselors from United Hospice of Rockland, a local organization, to come with me and do bereavement counseling and training of teachers and medical people in Kenya to serve the population and the children there in mental health disorders. And it was really, although here it's an established thing, in Kenya it's cutting edge. There's almost no such thing.
When you get involved with this whole project, what inspires you the most? What do you take away from it yourself that you bring back and it simply expands your own life?
I think everything about it expands my own life. You know, to be able to use the skills and the education that I have, which I feel more and more increasingly lucky to have, and to be able to share that with the population that really needs it is life-changing for me.
And what can you say to people out there who want to get involved?
The need is huge. You know, the need for support, the need for donations, the need is just insatiable. And any little thing that any one person can do would have a huge effect on, be it the population of a village or the life of one child.
And they can find out more about it on the website. Can you give us the website again?
It's www.shareafrica.com. .org.
That's great. Very good. Nice speaking with you, Dr. Karasek, and keep going forward.
Thank you.
Excellent. Did a great job. Thanks so much. Here we are with someone that everyone knows, that everyone likes, and known for years, from Saturday Night Live to Lost in Translation, Bill Murray. Amazing guy. So what are you doing here, Bill, today?
Well, I played a little bit of golf. I've seen a lot of people that I've known a long time. I've seen a lot of people that I didn't know before today. And we're here in the memory of Doc McGuffey. And I just met her daughter, whom I've never met before, and she's hilarious. I wish I'd met her a long time ago. She's a character, that one. And we're all sort of reminiscing a little bit about Bobby, they called her. I mean, but that was her sort of nickname. But I met her when my oldest son cut his face on something. I don't know. I had two sons cut their faces. And on the first occasion at the Nyack Hospital, they said, well, you don't really want like a college graduate kid cutting up, so zipping up your kid. Why don't you, if you can wait, you can get like a real plastic surgeon to come. And I thought, well, am I that grand a guy that I'll do that? And I thought, what the heck? I only have the one kid. Maybe it's an economy move in the long run. And so I said, yeah, let's hold that for the what do they call them, micro stitches, And they said, okay, we'll call the plastic surgeon on duty. And this funny lady walked in the door and said, oh, he's a good-looking kid. We can fix that. And proceeded to do a handful of like miniature stitches in his face. And he's a beautiful, beautiful boy today. And then when I got another opportunity after I punched my second son in the face and he needed stitches, she came and did his face too. And then I don't know, we just kind of hit it off. We yucked it up a lot. And I went to her place up on the mountain up there. I was always impressed with that swimming pool she had.
I visited myself.
God, what a swimming pool that was. But I guess it's covered up now. And it was a sign of what kind of person she was, that it was one of the most beautiful, like Flintstone kind of like ancient rock swimming pools, and it hadn't been used in years.
I interviewed the doctor for an hour in '05,
Yeah.
and she mentioned a little of that story in the hospital because she mentioned you a few times when we were talking.
Well, in '05 she lost her wits. She didn't make any sense anymore. But she started going to Africa then. She started going over then, and it was like 6 weeks at a pop, and then it was 3 months, and then it was 6 months, and then you just didn't see her. She just never really came back very often. She just became so devoted to it.
You're in a business, and you're highly successful at what you do, and you're a great actor. You get an inspiration from the work that you do. You have to kind of call upon they say the goddess sometimes to really move you. What inspired you about her work that you felt that transferred over to that?
Well, you have to give me a second. Well, you kind of have to give up the role you play in life to sort of serve the inside part of yourself. And I think that's what she did. Her role, she could have stayed here and been like a wonderful, beloved person, for the rest of her life. And instead she went there where no one knew her. She had no reputation, just as a healer, and to work the rest of her life. And to give up what you have in the name of the unknown, an even deeper sense of service. That's
what touched you.
Yeah, that's sort of where you have to genuflect in front of that.
And anything new coming up with you, Bill? While we have you here.
On a lighter note. Well, I've done a couple that will come out in the next, I've got a couple that come out at Christmas time. I did one with Wes Anderson. That'll be great. He makes great movies. I did another one with George Clooney. That'll be wonderful. He's very, very good too. Really wonderful to work with. And I did another one with a first-time guy that'll come out next year.
Great. That's terrific. So today's an honor for the doctor.
It's really for the doctor today. Yep.
Well, we're always great to have you, and everybody loves you out
That's
there.
nice, Edith.
You've brought us all happiness and tremendous joy over the years, right from the beginning.
Thanks.
Thanks very much. This is Bill Murray.
Nice of you to say.
Thanks so much, Bill. Here we are at this great event, still moving forward, and we have our guest now is Usha Wright. She's the president of Africa Share, and her involvement has been for quite a few years. We're going to ask her how she got involved and her feelings about it and some of her experiences.
Okay, well, thank you for that. It's very interesting how we got involved. Because one day I got a call from this woman, and actually I was on a business trip in Beijing, China. That was my cell phone, And she said, I'm Bobby McGuffey, and I heard that you were born in Kenya, and I also know something about you, that you were raised very poor, but you went to school here in this country on scholarships, and you always want to give back. And I just want you to know, I do some work in Kenya. So I said, oh, really want to know about it. And that conversation lasted an hour. And then she says to me, we should meet. And I had no idea where she lived. And she obviously had no idea where I lived because she was reaching me in China. And so she says, where do you live? And I said, Piermont. And there's this silence at the other end. And she says, I'm about 10 minutes away from you.
Wow, that's amazing.
I live in New City. She said, we should meet. When are you coming? I said, I'm coming back in a couple days. So that Saturday, we met at Runcible Spoon in Piermont. And that was the beginning. That was about 15 years ago. That's the beginning of our relationship. We met every Saturday, and we talked, and we talked, and we talked in between. She invited me to some of the Share board meetings, and pretty soon I was running the orphan sponsorship program. And then, sad to say, I went with her to Kenya. I was born in Nairobi in Kenya, so I know Kenya, I speak the language, so I went with her several times. And about 4 years before she passed away, she asked me to take over her organization. And I remember I said to her that you're a doctor, I'm a lawyer. Do you really want me to take over this organization? And she says, I know that. And I think I'm willing to take that chance, which was just like Bobby. And it's just been great. And, I'm so privileged. I can never step in her shoes. She was a giant. But I'm just so privileged to build on her legacy. We have expanded the medical program. We have dental staff going there now. We have bereavement counseling, which is new programs. And she has started a solar oven project. We are expanding that. We have a new solar oven project. And she would be just...
It sounds like it needs a lot of legal oversight.
I don't know about legal as much as...
As you being a lawyer.
Right. Thank you for trying that. But it isn't my law background as much as just, trying to do good.
Now, when you went to Kenya,
Every year I go.
What was your experience? What was your first experience when you went?
I was born in Kenya.
Right.
And I lived in Nairobi is my hometown. I was there until I went to finish high school. Then I came to United States for university. When I went with Bobby back to Kenya, I have to tell you, it was after a very long time. And when I arrived at the airport, I thought I'd just take a taxi to the hotel and I'd meet her there. And I was so shocked when I came out. There was Bobby waiting for me. And I know she knew this was a very emotional experience for me because I'd lived there, but I hadn't been back. And I was just so touched that she knew. We never spoke a word about it. We both knew that it was it's homecoming for me in a very different setting. I was brought up by a single mother. And my father died when I was 2. And she raised 3 kids. And it was tough. Life was tough in Kenya for us. Life is tough for any poor people anywhere. And it was just wonderful to be back, but she made it very comfortable for me.
The experience of Share Africa, since you've been involved and back in Kenya, what have you seen change?
Well, I'll tell you what, I am a product of something like Share. My mother was single mother, as I mentioned, was very poor, but somebody somewhere gave a scholarship for me, so I came here. And in Share Africa, we are doing it 1,000 times more. Okay, we are taking thousands of children. We have about 250 children a year that we take care of. And these are children who absolutely have no hope. They are orphans. Some of them are abandoned. We literally take them out of the street. And we take them and we bring them to schools. We put them in boarding schools. And, we do other things as well. We have a second solar oven project, a tea farm. We built a clinic. We built a wing in a hospital for maternity. So,
Is there a transitional space for these kids once you take them off the street?
That's a really good question. Yeah,
and then you have to turn them over to the Kenyan authorities, or?
No, what we do is we get them through high school. And I want to tell you something. This is really important statistic. In Kenya, 8% of high school graduates make it to university. Share children, 23% make it to university. So we are almost, 3 times national average. But we still have 70+% that don't make the university. So we do occasional training. There's auto mechanic, sewing, IT, and we send them there. So they all are becoming productive. And not only that they are self-sustaining, but some of them come back to the community, and even just vocational stuff, coming back to the community to talk about share. This year, by the way, I was very pleasantly surprised. 2 of our kids won, they are sponsored by our sponsors, but they won scholarships by corporations, and which is great. Kenya said, oh, would your sponsors be upset? I said, just the opposite. They'll be very happy that their children got scholarships. And in fact, I think they'll be motivated to sponsor other kids because we do such a good job in education.